Hello, 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 everyone. Guess what? It's Monday, and it's May the 2nd, 2022, and we're tuned into Sip with Kathleen. And I'm your host, Kathleen with the KP Martin. And I'm excited that you are taking time out of your busy week to check out our guest tonight and see what is going on. But before we introduce our guest, I got to pay the bills. The sponsor for tonight's program is you got a document that needs to get done. You got a courier that needs to get to the other side of town. Or you got a document that one person is on one side of town, the other person on the other side of town. Don't hesitate to call MJM One Enterprise, one family, one unit. We provide professional notary services. We come to you. That number is 404-618-9473. And why would I be sharing that with you? Of course, it's my business. Why not? So tonight I have been posting, letting you all know that I really wanted you to tune in. This is a different segment of what we normally do. Sip with Kathleen is a show that features entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and creative people. Well, tonight this is a special segment called Share Your Story. I have this amazing gentleman on this broadcast tonight that's going to share his story. So make sure, grab a seat, grab a cup of water or something so that you can relax and enjoy his story. When I spoke with the guest, I had heard of what he had gotten done, but I never actually met anyone. So tonight we have Mr. Robert Chelsea, and he has gotten a face transplant. So we're going to start with August 2013, LA. Let us know what happened.
I was on the 605 freeway. I was on the freeway in Los Angeles, and my car had overheated. I thought it was just a hose. I pulled over to the shoulder of the freeway, and a drunk driver swerved over to the shoulder and ran directly into me. My car went up in the air and came down, and about 3 or 4 seconds later, it blew up. So, uh, and I was in the car, so I got it burned from really top to bottom. Uh, I was able to get out by God's grace, and a good Samaritan, his name was Richard Robles. He he had stopped and saw what had happened and helped all he could, which was he was part of what saved my life. And as a result of that, I I was conscious all that time. I felt some burned areas. I didn't know, I can't remember the areas that I felt, but I didn't realize I had been so severely burned. Um, so when the ambulance came, I thought they were just going to take me to the hospital and check me out, and someone would then come and pick me up. But as it turned out, uh, I laid in the gurney, and when I woke up, it was like 6 months later. So from August 2013, I woke up uh, February 2014.
So let me ask you this. I want to go back to the accident. What time of morning? What time of day was this on the 13th? And
Around 10 in the evening.
it was in the evening. Okay. So, and being that California always has really, really, really busy freeways, is that particular freeway really, really busy?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was, yeah, I mean, it wasn't too crowded, but
Okay.
yeah.
I was just thinking about like versus like the 405. I always hear about that. That's why I was asking. Okay. So let me ask you this, Robert. 6 months later, when you did wake up, did you know who you were? Did you think it was the next day? What was that like?
I did not realize I was in a coma when I woke up, uh, the nurses and doctors and they contacted my friends and family or whatever, and they tried for about 2 or 3 weeks to convince me that I was in a coma because all I could remember is all through my that 6 month period, I had a real nice, comfortable time, and I had a friend. Each time I talked to him about my daughter and how this was going, how that was, he'd always give me an answer or a reassurance that things were going well, and that I would see my daughter pretty soon. I was wondering I haven't seen her in a while, and so he would give me this reassurance. I can't tell you his name or what he looked like, uh, or anything like that, but he was my very best confidant. And so after I woke up, others would come around calling my name, and I didn't realize, like, the doctors would do that, and the nurses. My nickname was Bobby. My first name's Robert, and the nickname was Bobby,
Right.
and they called me Bobby. Oh, Bobby, you've been here all this time, And so I eventually realized that maybe I was in a coma.
Right.
Kind
Right.
of how that transition went.
Right. Let me ask you this, Robert. During that time, so your family's there. They're there. Your family and friends are there the whole 6 months. Just pretty much. I'm sure probably praying over you, just checking on you every day or whatever. At any given time, because your daughter was there as well, right?
When?
When you was in the hospital, when you were in the hospital. I'm going back to the hospital bed, and then I'll move on.
Well, I was in a coma. I mean, I know all of them came in and out, but I was in a coma, so I didn't know.
No, no, no. I know you didn't know, but when you did come to, did she like? Did she tell you like? Did they say we just been here? We never left your bedside. Like they were just so like surprised to see you wake up. But see you wake up and just look. I guess looking around, right? Just
Well, they rejoiced, and I was glad to see them. It was, they told me about what had transpired through that
right,
6 month period, all the surgeries and the challenges, the difficulties. I was coded blue several times, all these kinds of things. So, uh, I never, I didn't realize when I did wake up, I wondered, I was all strapped down,
right,
and I was wondering why they had me strapped down. I could see my legs because you're in the bed. So, they wash your body, and so you can
yeah,
see some of your stomach and your legs and feet, arms. So I realized that, that the severity of the burns were a lot more than what I remember.
right, right,
But that's, they had to tell me
right.
who was there, what they had to say, how often they came, and they suffered so much more than I did at
And
all.
that's why I was asking. That's because they're sitting up there looking at you and just is he gonna be okay? Study praying. So that's why I asked you that. That's why I asked that part. So Robert, let me ask you this. So paint a picture for me and the audience. At what point, being that you were burned like 60% or more, at what point did they get to deciding on a face plant transplant? Like, how did that conversation come about? Because you already have been in there 6 months. So from that point, can you paint the timeline for us of what you remember or what they told
Yeah, well, when I woke up, uh, I still didn't leave the hospital environment. I was transferred to several hospitals. The burn center released me or discharged me or transferred me, if you will, into another long term hospital. because
Okay.
my organs still were not working and responding the way they should. So they had done all they could do. They felt I'd probably, die. There just wasn't anything else they could do. They sent me to a long-term uh, hospital, and like I said, August through December, I was in University of Irvine Burn Center. In
Okay.
December, they had done all that they could do. They transferred me in December to Kindred Long Term Hospital. So I was there from December to February. That's when I woke up. I
Okay.
stayed in Kindred, I guess another 2 or 3 months, and then they transferred me to uh, Rancho Los Amigos, which is it's a, it's a, it's a, it used to be the brain trauma center for the LA County, but they converted that into, other specialties. So I was there for like only 3 weeks, and they didn't feel I was strong enough to be rehabilitated in terms of physical uh, rehabilitation, and I still needed some other surgeries. So they sent me back to UCI, and they amputated a couple of fingers and a couple of toes, and uh, they re-grafted my head, and because my lips were burned off, part of my tongue was burned off, and some other parts of my head, and so so I went back to UCI. They kept me for a few more months, and then they sent me back to Kindred again. Uh, so I stayed in Kindred for another few more months, and then I got sent to a Paramount Metals, a nursing care, and that's where I got discharged. So I got discharged I was in the hospital from August 2013
Mhm.
to December 2014. It was about a year and a half I was actually in the hospital. So when I got out, I was discharged. I still couldn't walk or anything. I stayed with my sister. It's in a desert area called Victorville. It's like 80 miles outside of Los Angeles,
Okay.
and it's in Mojave Desert area. I stayed with her about 3.5 years, recovering from all the burns. While while there, of course, I had a lot of examinations and all kind of uh, challenges there, but I eventually joined Kaiser Permanente Hospital,
Yes.
and each hospital you go to, they have to go through their own examination
Right.
routine.
They want to
So
evaluate you themselves.
yes,
Yeah.
so I had to see the dermatologist with them, and the plastic surgeons, and the burn specialists, and so on. So the plastic surgeon there, uh, like all the other plastic surgeons, had said they can't do a lot about my lips other than cover them because there's no nerve endings. When you a plastic surgeon, they can take part of your body
Hmm.
and attach it, but the nerve endings and the blood vessels and the muscles and the tendons, they they're different on your. If they took your graft from your legs or wherever, it's going to be different than your lips. So they could use it as a flap to cover my lips and to
Gotcha.
protect my gums and teeth, but but I wouldn't still have any control over uh, talking or chewing or closing my mouth and drinking and so on. So I was drinking mainly with a syringe. That's the only way I was drinking is with a 60 milliliter. It's about that long and 60 milliliter syringe for about 5 6 years. Well, up until my transplant. So during that time, talking with the plastic surgeon, him explaining the same thing that all the other plastic surgeons had shared throughout those years. But he had a friend who knew Dr. Bolden Pomwell, who sat under Pomahawk in his classes, and he suggested that I could possibly be a candidate. So that's kind of how the ball started rolling. They
Okay.
contacted him, and then Dr. Pomwell, called me and felt that it would be worth at least an evaluation. So I went to Boston, Massachusetts, uh, and at Brigham Women's Hospital. They're the research medical center for Harvard University, and that's where we started the evaluations 3 days once, and then I came back 5 days. And so that's kind of how it. One of the reasons my process uh, actually was very unique is they had not done a face transplant with anyone over 50 years old. And there's only about 47 face transplants that have been completed in the world.
Okay.
15 of them have been done in the United States. At that time, 8 were done at Brigham Women's Hospital, which was which was 4 times more than any other hospital. So most hospitals, only few hospitals that have done a transplant was 1 or 2, and all of them on the East Coast. But Brigham Women at that time had done 8. So they were really the experts when it came to that. And so that's kind of how that developed. I can share with you some unique uh, circumstances as a result of them deciding for me because I was like
I was going to
64.
ask you that. So please share, because I was going to ask you that.
Well, I was around 64 at the time when they decided that I would be a good candidate, but the age cutoff was like 50. And of course, they had not done anyone black at all. And everyone that they had, you know, given a face transplant to were white. So uh, there's a lot of unique differences, especially African Americans. Our shade, it, we we had to come up with a design on how many shades were African American so that we could have an idea of what kind of face to look for. You don't want someone very light, and I wasn't extremely dark before the accident.
We have
So,
so many different shades.
yes. So we came up with 18 different shades.
That's a lot.
And between those shades, I uh, requested anywhere between it was 1 to 18. I requested number 6 to 14 or 15, something like that.
Hmm.
And we had to change that like a year or so afterward uh, because we couldn't find anyone that had passed away that met the requirements that would
Of
be
what you needed.
applicable to yeah, my condition.
Okay, so Robert, I got a question, and I'm sure the audience that they're unaware of this as well. Where, because I know with a skin graft, we taking skin of our own. When you're doing a face transplant, where are they getting the face from? Where are they, yeah, getting the, yeah? How do they come up with all of that?
Uh, there's several ways, but the two main ways is a donor that has recently passed.
Gotcha.
Within 3 hours, we're talking face now. If it were a liver, lung, kidney, then there's a little more leeway. But with the face, they really have to start the procedure within 3 hours of taking the donor.
Okay.
As a result of that, uh, that meant I had to be there at the hospital, and in this case, one medical team, prepared my face, uh, which meant basically they had to strip the outline of my face. They had to strip it down, I guess, let's say to the skeleton. That's probably not the right words, but, and while they're doing that, the team, uh, the transplant team, flies to the donor's location. And while they're flying to the donor's location, another team that's at that donor's hospital is preparing the donor's face or
Right.
whatever other body parts that
Right.
will be distributed.
Okay.
So it's like three teams working, one dealing with me, the other going to, flying to the donor, and then the third team is at the donor's location preparing them, preparing the donor. Uh, they're mainly, when it comes to face transplant, there have to be, obviously, there have to be uh, deceased.
Right. Right. So I'm
Or,
assuming maybe it's like a situation where you know somebody's about to pass and they are a good candidate and that's how they choose, I guess, that person. Just like as if you would do another type of donation of a body part.
yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yeah.
But obviously, the time frame is a lot more critical
Yeah.
because
3 hours isn't long.
very fun.
I say 3 hours is not long. Like,
No, it isn't at all. Because
yeah.
we're looking at a face that uh, that can turn into leather very quickly. Uh, there, the blood vessels, the tendons, the uh, nerve endings, all of that can die.
Gotcha.
So it has to be taken. It's different than taking an organ out and putting an organ in.
Right. Right.
This has to be what they do is they actually strip my face, and because I have a full face transplant, they they strip my whole head, my forehead,
From your skull. Oh
my
wait.
nose, all of this, and they have to uh, not only loosen it up, but they have to attach the nerve endings and the blood vessels and the tendons and the muscles, all of that on each portion, every centimeter of my body, of my head.
Right.
So I have another nose. It's just not another face. My forehead is not the same forehead. My head is not. I didn't have any hair, but the donor did, and my cheeks, my chin,
Mm-hmm.
my jaws, my lips, all of those had to be transported and intricately tied in, all the nerve endings all over for me to be able to function.
Do they tie that? Does it right here comes all the way down to here too? Like they tied it all the way down to here? Like, because I know the head, the back part, but is it all the way down to here too? Like they
Well,
had to.
there's no line down here.
Okay,
Yeah. It's mainly showing here.
got you.
Yeah. But yeah, they had to do it. It's not a predominant. There's no line
Okay.
showing.
So, what is the time frame of you being in surgery when they actually do get the other donor and they're getting to you? What is the time frame that you're actually under anesthesia getting the surgery done?
16 hours. Well, 16-hour surgery, but I'm obviously under anesthesia prior to that because they're preparing my face, you know, and they're going to get the donor. So while they're preparing me, I'm already out. I'm unconscious
So if
already.
you count those 3 hours, that's at least what 19 hours right there, almost 24 hours at that point. Counted, that's a long time.
Well, I don't, I, who knows how long it really, the preparation, I don't know how long that really took.
I'm gonna research that because I'm just curious to know that myself.
Uh-huh.
Only because I'm in the healthcare field, so I'm curious. Okay,
Yeah.
so Okay, so they finally get that they and did they do anything else? They just did your face. Being that you had burns, did they do any other grafting as well while they were already there, or they just did the face transplant?
They're specialists in face transplant.
Gotcha.
Uh, and so, they had no reason to do any other part of my body. That the burn center and all that was done years prior to my face transplant. Face transplant was done in 2019. My burns was 2013.
So at this point, they had already you already because you was a second, third degree burns.
Oh, they were third degrees, but I try not to really be specific because, I don't know what you heard or read, but
I don't know. I'm just asking.
yeah, depending on the publication, they might say I was 35%, 45, 65,
Right.
95. They all have said so many different things. So,
Right.
I, there's no official, uh, uh, and
Number.
who knows? I
Gotcha.
know it was third degree, but I'm sure there was, I don't know, maybe it could have been some fourth
But
degrees, it could have been some second degree.
but at the point that you got the face transplant, as far as your body have had it have you were you healed pretty well by the time you got that done?
Yes,
Yeah, that's why I was
pretty,
asking.
pretty well. Yeah, those burn scars are there forever.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can put anything you want on it. Everybody comes with all kind of ideas of what they can use, and this works and that. But uh, really, if you are severely burned, that it's a new life.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to go with that. So when they finished the surgery and did they tell you, okay, we're gonna show you got to wear the bandages or something? You got to wait a minute. Like how long was it before you were able to see yourself, and what kind of information did they tell you if you remember?
Well, the face transplant, as soon as I came out of ICU,
Mhm.
I had no bandages at all. I had what you see here.
Okay, gotcha.
You'd expect bandages and all that, but no, there wasn't any. Because they
Okay.
had actually stripped off and sewn all the, now all those nerve endings don't start working right away. To this very day, my lips, for an example, I can't give you a big smile. I can't pucker my lips. One of the reasons for me having the surgery was so I could kiss my daughter's cheeks again. You
Okay.
can't do that until these lips and the nerve endings are able. I can control them better.
Right.
So uh, I'm still in speech therapy and have been, for that matter, since the accident, 2013. But now this particular speech therapy is specifically for getting these cheeks and the jaws. They're still, you might say, firing off zingers, just the nerve endings uh, striking and connecting. They're still doing it today. All because I have different eyelids. All just every portion is new and it has to connect. And uh, without it connecting, that portion will die. If there's no blood going through there, it's going to die. So, but it's taken 2, 3 years, and the lips is the last portion. Typically, it's going to the last portion that actually connects from others that have had it done.
Okay. So so we've gotten all this done. What is life like for you right now? What is it like?
My life is it's a new life, but it was a new life when I got burned,
True.
and uh, there is no regret. The surgery is the highlight for people that are listening, but the highlight for me was uh, an opportunity to actually experience God's wonderful ways with covering me through
Yes.
what others would say is a horrific accident. Well, I I don't really I know what they're saying, but it wasn't horrific at all for me. I had no pain through any of that,
Right.
even through the facial transplant. There was no pain. After the surgery, no pain. Uh, so, uh, and God has been such a comforter. How can I, what is it like? It's even a greater joy than I would have had prior to uh, uh, going through this experience. Because he's seemed like he just put his hand around me.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, when you go into a valley experience, hopefully you'll discover that there's lilies in the valley.
Yes.
And no man can provide that for you.
Right. Right.
Not even the tender touch of a mother's love can provide that for you.
Right.
So God has given me a chance. Daniel didn't complain when he came out the lion's den. Instead, he rejoiced. Now, in our mind, we think, well, how could it be? I mean, what, you look a mess. But he places a certain kind of joy that that offsets any physical image
Right.
or challenge that we might have. I mean, I walk different and I talk now differently, but there's a peace, as Paul said, that passes all understanding. Where do you
Oh,
get this from,
understanding.
Peter? Where do you get this from? Well, God provides. You can't go off the shelf and get it. But you so as a result of that, how's my life now? It's better than it ever had been.
Yes. Yes. I'm glad you said that because a lot of times, we look at our lives and we think certain things, and here you are still praising him and you still moving in your life, and you said it was better than it's ever been. Most people don't even know what that conversation would have looked like, but that's what it looks like for you. And as you're moving forward in um, your journey, what is it that you need from us as a community? Because this is new. What is it that you would want us to do, or what is it that you want us to share so that we can help somebody else?
Well, we even prior to the face transplant, we had already established a foundation, Robert Chelsea Foundation, because I realized there is not only such a great need, but we can affect so many lives with receiving a transplant. One eye can save 8 other eyes.
Yeah.
So, and we know the dialysis clinics, most of them are
Waiting.
uh, yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
even if they're not waiting, they have no confidence that they could get a transplant. For kidneys, for example, it seems to be the most popular. But stem cells, uh, several different stem cells can eradicate sickle cell,
Yes.
bone marrow replacement, so limb, tissue, etc. So as a result of that, our organization is doing just that. We are a nonprofit,
Yes.
501c3. And so our, if you will, entrepreneurship is just that, to advocate for increase our donor population. And it
Yes.
must be not in one ethnic group. It must be everywhere God has his people. because everywhere has the halt, the maimed, the lame, the blind, everywhere in all countries. And so the intent is to make sure that our platform is able to, if God wills, our platform to reach and to encourage the scientists that are there, the researchers that are there, the physicians and the students that are there, that hopefully one day they will find themselves in a brand new field of transplantation.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing now in terms of uh, uh, how we're pursuing speaking engagements is very important. Where you and I are talking today, uh, I would like to see more results. I hope someone decides to become a donor as a result.
I,
Our
I'm
conversation.
gonna share something with you when you finish. Um, Go ahead. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait, but I'm
I,
gonna share something with you.
I'm finished.
I remember. I know a lot of times when you go get your license, they'll ask you to be a donor or whatever. And when I was younger, I would never do that.
Yeah,
And then 1999, I had a son, and that son passed as an infant. And I remember them asking us, did we want to donate his organs? And it was really interesting because, again, like I said, I was younger then, and I didn't. I'm like, wait a minute. When they came to me and they brought that conversation to me, I was like, let my child leave this earth, physical earth, in peace. Like, why are you trying to chop him up? That's what I thought in my head, right? However, um, years later, I really wish that I would have had the conversation with his dad that we would have donated, because I mean, there's so many. It could have been a child out here that would have got his eyes, would have got his heart. It would have been somebody's child that needed my baby stuff because he could no longer be here,
yeah,
but he would have been able to serve a purpose. So I think totally different than I did then. But
yeah.
it's about being educated, being understanding, and being in that situation and knowing what it is to need that or be able to provide that. So
My hands are cadaver skin. During the first 6 months in a coma, they
yes,
had to. Uh, Richard, the one that helped me out of the car
yes,
in the fire, he said he tried to take my arm to escort me to a safe area, but my arm was melting.
mm,
And I said, so my hands, they apparently melted off, both of them. And
right,
so when at the hospital, they had to cover my hands with cadaver skin. That was the other portion I mentioned to you. That person would have to be deceased and they take the
right,
organ. But the other is when they donate to research, then they have on hand, so to speak, cadaver skin
right.
that they can use for grafts and certain things like that as well. So that's what happened here. I have actually cadaver skin here. I have
Mhm.
my grafts, of course, and also the little bit of skin that was left that wasn't burned. And of course, I have now another donor's face.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. Okay, okay. Well, Robert, I know it's been a long day because he's on California time, so it is what, 7, 6, 5,
It's only,
4, 5, 4, 5.
we're 3 hours different.
Yeah, okay.
I'm three hours behind you.
Okay. So I appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share this information with us. I will make sure that I put your information in the bio once I actually close the interview out so that people can, follow your story and, check out your foundation, invite you to any speaking events or any other podcasts so that you can continue to share your story. And also, if they have anything they know that would help your foundation, definitely reach out to you, because there are people that are watching and there are people that know people that may be, have been in this situation and just want to help. So I'm glad that you shared this. And I just wish you many blessings. And I just enjoyed your energy. I enjoyed you for allowing me to interview you on my platform and share this story. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I really
thank
do.
you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're not going to hold up any more of everybody's time this afternoon. We're going to close out the interview.
Okay.
Make sure you all just do me one favor. It's on YouTube, so like it and share it, which is under Kathleen P. Martin, and it's also on my Facebook page, Kathleen P. Martin. Make sure you like it and share it so other people can hear his testimony. So the next time we may be sitting here complaining about certain things that are not to the level of what Mr. Chelsea's complaining about, because he isn't. He is in high spirits. He told you he wasn't in pain and God got him. If when we start to think about stuff, we think about what we haven't been through and just put those cares away. So thank you, Robert. You make sure that you have a good night.
Well, I do would like to just I realize every single person has their, you know how people say, well, is your pain level from 1 to 10?
Oh yeah, 10 is supposed to be high.
Yeah. Well, that is not, my 10 is not your 10. And we have to
Mm,
respect one another's 10. So
you're right.
even if they're going through a great deal, they can't compare themselves to me
Right.
because, I can't compare. But you can be assured that the same source that cared for me can also care for them.
True. True.
That's the most important. Really, organizations and foundations, advertising and make awareness, education has just, it won't mean anything unless you can turn your heart to God, who has actually created you, not me or nobody else.
Right.
When you get a hold of Him, the battle is over. You win.
Yes. 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 So true. So true. So true. Man. Now I got a lot to think about tonight. I'm gonna do my little research. Yes. So, all right, everybody. I didn't see any comments, but I'm sure I'll see them later. But again, y'all have an awesome night, and thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.